Hey friends, it's Simon Hurley and welcome to a brand new video. Now I love it when you can do one technique and get many different cards out of it. So today I'm going to show how to use Lunar Paste and create 4 different cards using just one technique and a little bit of paste. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to start off with something really simple using the Sweater Weather stencil. I love this one. Originally it was released as a Christmas stencil, but it's just such a versatile geometric pattern. Alright, then I'll use a little bit of mint tape and I'm going to tape this down to the piece of stark white cardstock. And just a little bit of simple stenciling is going to start our kind of series of techniques. To make the spreading of my Lunar Paste super easy, I'm using the new paste tool set, which comes with 2 scrapers and a palette knife. So to do this, I'm just going to go in with a couple colors of my Lunar Paste, and I'm just going to spread it on pretty thick on the left side of my stencil here. And then any excess can go right back into the jar. Moving into Psych, I love this kind of yellow-green color, and we'll just mix that in and add a little bit of that down. And then finally we'll finish it off with Tropical Tango, which is just this gorgeous, rich teal color at the bottom. All right, now this is where the fun part comes in. We're gonna grab our scraper tool, and this is really easy to use, but there's a couple tips that'll make it even easier. So you'll see, since we put on a lot of that paste, it's really easy to just spread across the surface. When it comes to using this tool, you're gonna have a lot of paste that collects on the back like this. But it's a lot thicker kind of near the top edge. So you need to just, instead of go upward like this, you need to kind of tilt it downward, and it'll help dispense that paste a little bit easier across the surface. And I just move up and down a little bit to cover the whole A2 card, and it's gonna also easily blend these colors together. So once we've got it all the way across to the other side, then we can start kind of tipping our tool upward a little bit more to kind of wipe off any of the excess paste and make it just as thick as the stencil. We don't want to add too much paste onto the surface there. And you'll see it makes just such a smooth and even coverage across the stencil. All right, so we can peel this off, and you can see our beautifully stenciled background with the Lunar Paste. And if you want to with this, you can always heat set it with a heat tool and check out that shine once it's all dry. I love the stenciled background that we created. Now this next part is really effective on a piece of black cardstock. And I'm gonna take my stencil with the excess paste that's on it, and I'm just going to spray this down a little bit to make sure that it's nice and wet. You wanna do this quickly before the paste starts drying, and then I'm just going to line it up on the surface of my cardstock. Press that down. Then instead of going in with my fingers, I go in with a paper towel, I lay it down, and I just start blotting on the surface. This way, if any excess paste comes out, you're going to kind of remove it and lift it off with the paper towel, and it'll get a nice clean image. All right, and when we lift it off there, you get just a beautiful kind of excess print of that. When it's dry, you see all of the amazing shine that it gave. Of course, you can take another print or just wipe off any of the excess paste and make sure it is super clean before you move into your next technique. Now, coming back to the scraper tool, we still got a lot of excess paste on here. So what I like to do is go in and again, bring my scraper tool in on the edge here, and you want to kind of tilt it downward like this towards the cardstock so that all of this excess paste is going to come off beautifully onto the surface of your cardstock there. And we'll make a nice smooth thin layer of our paste. And if you want to, you could even kind of go up and down like this to get kind of a swirly pattern out of it. It's really up to you. Once we've made this thin layer of paste, I want to add a little bit of texture. So I'm bringing in this Folk Art Florals background rubber stamp, and I'm just going to take this and lightly press it into the texture paste. You don't need to really press down, just give a slight amount of pressure all over, and it's going to really transfer nicely into that texture paste. And when we lift this off, check out the amazing, beautiful texture and dimension that we get. Check out how beautiful this is when it's dry, and it keeps all of its amazing texture and dimension that you gave. And last but not least, we want to quickly go at this one before it starts to dry. I'm gonna spray it down just a little bit with some water, and again, I find that this is really stunning on black cardstock. And then whenever I stamp down, I like to go in with my Debbie pressure tool and just give good pressure all the way around to make sure that it transfers. You don't wanna hold it there too long because it might start drying to the cardstock. So lift that off pretty quick and you get this beautiful background. And again, the shine intensifies when it dries. Then again, once this one's dry, it just gives that beautiful pop of color against the black cardstock. Love how it turns out. Now when it comes to cleaning this off, you want to do it pretty quickly. You can go in here with lots of water. And then I recommend having a Ranger Rub It Scrub It tool. This thing is a game changer. It's I think $5 and it's got this kind of scrubby surface on it. So you can really easily get in there and get into more of the detailed areas of your stamp. You're really easily able to get that stamp a lot cleaner, and then you can go in with, say, a microfiber cloth and get in there and be able to clean all of the lunar paste out of your stamp. Check out how clean that is. I'm telling you guys, this is a game changer for cleaning. So starting off with this one, I'm going in with the coordinating color of ink. Each lunar paste has a coordinating color of ink. Starting off with a little bit of shooting star and going in and just blending over top on the background. I'm using the domed blending foam so I get just a really beautiful color blend, and it also ensures that I'm not going to get any harsh edges from the foams either, which is really nice. Next, I'm going in with a little bit of clear skies and blending that in, and you're gonna get a beautiful new color in between there as well when the ink colors blend together. And last but not least, that gorgeous Tropical Tango color right over top of the Tropical Tango Lunar Paste. And when you're blending these on, as long as the Lunar Paste is completely dry, it won't be affected at all. It's got nice shine to it, and it really resists the ink. And because it's resisting the ink, there might be a little bit of excess ink on top. So I just go in with a paper towel and I just buff off the surface to ensure that any ink that might be on top of the lunar paste all comes off and won't come off on your hands then. And the really cool part about this is if you tilt it in the light, it really matches the colors. And then if you tilt it away from the light, it kind of gives a nice contrast to them, which is just beautiful. I'm gonna go back to an old stamp set, but a really good one. You can tell this one is really well loved, but it's got these huge florals in it. Here I'm gonna go for the sunflower image, and then I'm going to grab one of my large Simon Hurley Create acrylic blocks. I love this big guy for larger images, and I'm just going to place it right down onto the block. And then I'll ink it up with some black ink and give it a nice crisp image. And then we'll stamp it down onto some stark white cardstock. And I like that this block isn't too thick, so it's easy to press down on, but it also has enough grip to it so you can hold it without kind of dropping it on your project. All right, then I'm gonna go in with a little bit of clear heat embossing powder, lay that right over top, and tap it off. I do this because I love the clear shine and finished look that it gives, and then we can heat set it until it becomes clear and shiny. Okay, and then to color this in really simply, I like to use these little detail blending brushes. Altenew has them, and I also use the Ranger foam tools. And this is just really easy to go in and blend on the surface without kind of going outside the lines. So it's really easy to stay inside the lines with these small little tools. And then I can also kind of go in and I start from the center and work my way out, which makes it nice and dark in the center. And then it fades to kind of a white color on the outside, which is exactly the look that I want for this sunflower. It's a really easy way of coloring, especially if you're afraid of watercoloring, but you still want to use your ink pads to match the colors exactly to your background. And now I'm gonna go in with one of the Ranger tools with the foam on the end, and I'm gonna go in with a little bit of gur in the center to add a little bit of brown. And then to add even more shading and dimension, I'm gonna go in with the new color Weeping Willow, which is a lot darker and more bold. And we'll just go in with a little bit of this color kind of right on the edge to darken it and add a little bit of depth to the sunflower. All right, and this is where I love these brushes. They come in 3 different sizes, and this one is just tiny enough to get into the little details on the leaves as well, which is just so awesome. All right, now to fussy cut this out, I'm just going in with my Fiskars Spring Assist scissors. These guys spring right back out at you, so your hands don't get tired when you're cutting, which is really nice. And I just go in right around the edges and leave a little bit of a white border. I was using a different scissors to cut the other day, and I found out that the reason why I really love these scissors is because you get a lot smoother of a cut because your hand isn't having to jolt open every time. So you get a much smoother line because all you're doing is the pushing down motion, and it opens automatically for you, which makes it a lot easier for me. And although there are some really great sentiments in this set, I am gonna go with the pretty Peonies stamp set simply because it says Sending Sunshine and it's a sunflower, so it fits a little too perfectly. All right, then I'm gonna take a piece of black cardstock. I'll use my anti-static powder bag. Then I'll go in with Versamark, my clear sticky ink, and we'll stamp it down onto our cardstock. And then I'll throw over a layer of white embossing powder. And I find that with this, if there's any stray powders, I like to just lightly blow on the surface, and I find that most of them leave rather than flicking it, which is gonna get rid of too much powder. And then I've added some foam tape to pop the sentiment just a little bit. And that finishes off the card. I love that background with a little bit of shine and that tone-on-tone look, and then bringing in the floral set to finish it off. Next, I'm bringing in this background, and to finish it off, I'm gonna use the Owl Buddy stamp set. I love this folk art owl, and I think it matches really well. For this one, I'm bringing in a little bit of Versamark. I'm gonna ink up my owl here, and then stamp it down onto some stark white cardstock. And then I'll go in with either white or clear heat embossing powder. Since we're doing it on white cardstock, it doesn't really matter which one you use. And I'll just sprinkle over a little bit. And then I'll heat set that until it's clear and shiny. Then to match the exact same colors, I'm using the same color of ink that I used in the Lunar Paste and just blending it over top of the surface. And as I do this, you'll see that it really beautifully resists that embossing powder and creates a nice, beautiful blend of colors on the surface. Then last but not least, I'll finish it off with a little bit of Tropical Tango at the bottom. Then again, we'll go in with a paper towel and we'll just buff off the surface of that embossing powder to make sure that any excess ink gets removed and it goes really back to that bright white shine. And then same thing, I'm just gonna go around leaving a little bit of a border and use my Fiskars Spring Assist scissors to cut this image out. I'll pop the owl off the surface using a little bit of foam tape. Then I'm gonna use the sentiment that says you're wise beyond your years. And there is the finished card. I love the shine of that stamped background and how we finished it off using that folk art owl really beautifully. Now with a background as bright as this, I love to really make it the star of the show, so just simply adding a little bit of tape runner and then adding it down onto the card. I love this lovely Lantanas stamp set for sentiments, and I'm going to use the encouraging sentiment that says you are so much stronger than you think. Then again, I'll use my anti-static powder tool, use a little bit of Versamark ink to ink this up, and then stamp it down on the surface. I just love how bold white heat embossed sentiments are. And there is that finished card. I love this one so much, and the background really is the star of the show, just quickly finishing it off with the sentiment. I love that you can do one technique and use such little paste to get so many beautiful backgrounds and cards. Leave a comment down below on which card is your favorite, and also down there is a full supplies list to everything that I used, and using those links really helps support me, so I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys very soon for another card making and crafting video. Have a great day. Bye!